Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, the Hawai'i Island DBED Info Session. My name is Nicole, and I'm a project engineer at HTDC Innovate Hawaii. Innovate Hawaii is part of the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, HTDC, which is a state agency attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, whose mission is to grow the tech economy and workforce in Hawaii. Innovate Hawaii is the state's NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Center, which supports small and medium-sized manufacturers to enhance their productivity, growth, and technical performance through programs and services across the islands. Some housekeeping items before we dive into the webinar. This session will be recorded and will be sent to all who registered. And we are in webinar mode, so your cameras and microphones should already be muted. And please feel free to send in your questions during the session through the Q&A function. First off, I would just like to mention that we have on our call Tom Leonard. He is the Hawai'i Island representative for HTDC and Innovate Hawaii. He is a great first contact if you're looking for assistance from our programs. And you may email him at tom.ni3@htdc.org. And he'll put the contact in the chat as well. So now I would like to introduce Miles Yoshioka, Executive Officer of the Hawai'i Island Chamber of Commerce.
Aloha from sunny Hilo, everyone. Good morning and happy holidays. Nicole, thank you for the introduction. And we really like to thank the HTDC Innovate Hawaii team and DBED's Business Development and Support Division for allowing us to partner and making these presentations available to our members. Being on a neighbor island, oftentimes we don't get to participate, but thanks to you folks and the partnerships we have, our members do benefit. So thank you. And again, welcome to everyone.
Great, thank you, Miles. Now I would like to introduce Dennis Boyd, Director of the West Hawaii Small Business Development Center.
Good morning, everybody. As Nicole says, I'm the Director of the West Hawaii Small Business Development Center. There's also a Small Business Development Center in East Hawaii, and we divide the island pretty much in half. We work with the DBEDT folks all the time, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about our program for just a few minutes. We help businesses with business planning, financial projections, put together financing packages, HR, pretty much anything a small business needs. And we provide our services at no charge. So we're there to help you, and you can reach us at our website, which is HiSBDC.org. And just to give you a sense of the scope, I looked at our statistics just for this year. To date, and in West Hawaii, we've dealt with 267 clients. Those clients have injected $6.7 million of new capital into the economy. They've created 106 jobs and 14 new businesses, and have experienced $2.5 million in sales increase. And those are the metrics we use to track our progress. So if you'd like to be part of that group, just come on down and see us at HiSBDC.org. Thanks a lot. Appreciate the opportunity.
Great, thank you so much, Dennis. So now without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Mark Ritchie, Branch Chief of the Business Support Branch, to kick off DBED's main presentation.
Okay. Great, thank you, Nicole. I'm just gonna do my share screen here. And thank you, HTDC and Innovate Hawaii and our business partners on Hawai'i Island for allowing us to give this presentation. We're going to go over a couple of our main programs in the Business Development and Support Division. And we'll start with our Cbed loan program. Again, my name is Mark Ritchie, and I'm a branch chief in the Business Support Branch, and that's part of the Business Development and Support Branch. And I'm joined by my colleagues, Jamie Lum and Lyle Fuchikawa, who are going to talk about some programs that they head up. So first of all, let's start with, let me see if I can get the screen here, the slideshow. So the Cbed program, that's our community-based economic development program. And that was established by the legislature back in the early 1990s. And a definition of Cbed, or community-based economic development, is really looking at economic development starting at the community level. And community can be defined as a demographic community, an ethnic community, a community of interest. There's a lot of different definitions for community, but it's trying to help fund and help be successful companies that are part of the community and will create things for the community, namely jobs, but also inputs into products and things like that that they would source from other companies locally. By statute, the Cbed program, we can offer grants, loans, and technical assistance. And so what we're talking about today is our loan program. Currently, we have about $1.25 million available for loans, and that's through a federal grant where we just received $1 million to input into this program. So the Cbed loan program, we can support a broad range of small businesses, but we do focus on kind of agriculture, value-added agricultural processing, kind of food sort of things, and then manufacturing and wholesaling. And that's why we're really interested in working and have been working with Innovate Hawaii, because they are the MEP Hawaii branch for the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, working with manufacturers in Hawaii. Our loans usually range from about $50,000 to $100,000, although we can go higher. We can go all the way to $250,000, and we're sort of right in the process of maybe doing one that's a little bit higher than the $100,000 right now. Our interest rates usually range from 3 to 6%, and we can go all the way up to a 10-year term. As part of the statute, the Cbed statute, we're encouraged to do participation loans. In other words, partnering with other organizations to do loans where we would do 50%, they would do 50%. And so we already have co-lending arrangements and some loans already with partner organizations such as the Hawaii State Department of Agriculture, the Hawaii Community Reinvestment Corporation, and Feed the Hunger Foundation. And we're always looking for other partners to work with where we can sort of leverage some state money, but then bring in some match from other sources. So to be able to be eligible for a Cbed loan, you must be a registered business in the state of Hawaii. And then this is the crucial part. We're not a bank, we're not competing against private sector banks. What we're looking at is economic development. And so this is really important for the loans that we do, is that there has to be some economic development outcome. And usually this means sort of new jobs, services, an increase in business for local suppliers, product inputs. And usually it's in kind of an economically challenged area of the state. And for each loan, we have to articulate that in some sort of narrative. Since we don't compete with the banks, we are looking for one commercial financial institution turned down. So you have to have gone to a bank and they say, no, you don't quite meet the metrics or things that we're looking at, when we do our algorithms on whether we think you would be eligible for a loan. And again, we are looking specifically at kind of agricultural, value-added agricultural processing, and then manufacturing and wholesaling. It's not that we can't do a retail operation, it's just that's not our focus. And so we would really have to have a reason why we think a retail operation would have an economic development income in a particular part of the state. So what can a Cbed loan be used for? It can be used for working capital, construction or improvement of facilities, purchase of equipment, and then payment for production and marketing expenses. And that's pretty broad. Most of our loans do go to a combination of equipment purchases and working capital. And again, we're really here to try to help a company that maybe has been in business 2 or 3 years and is looking at expanding or going to the next level, needs to expand their facilities, needs new equipment, needs new working capital. But they already have sort of a track record of some sort that we can can judge them on. We really aren't using these Cbed loans for startup funding. I think that's kind of a different sort of program, and that's a little bit of a different animal that this program isn't really well suited for. Just as a caveat, one of the things that cannot be used for the Cbed statute, again, we're very statute driven, it can't be used to refinance, like, oh, we have a lower interest rate, so you want to refinance or something, some other loan. It can't be used for things like that. And so what we have done, just if you're interested in this program, is you should go to our website, which will be listed at the end of this PowerPoint, and read about how the program works, eligibility. And then if you're still interested, we have what we call a Cbed loan interest form, where you tell us a little about yourself. This is not a pre-qualification, and it's not setting up an account so that you're submitting documents for a loan application. I know there's other organizations where you go to their website, you click on something, and then you're already setting up an account and being asked to submit documents and things for underwriting. We're trying to do one step before, so that we can just sort of see, is this appropriate, before we would actually go further and then start asking for all the things that go into when you apply for a loan, and then the underwriter starts looking at things. And this is an economic development program, but we do want to be paid back. So the underwriting is really important, because we want to make sure that the company can be successful, and this loan is going to help them, but we don't get them into trouble. We also offer a lot of technical assistance around the Cbed loan, and we offer that from DBED, but then also from our partner organizations, because we want companies to be successful, and we want them actually to be able to, pay back the loan and have a good credit rating and things. So what's on the loan interest form, just real quickly, we're just looking at, how long you've been in business. We're looking for like 2 years or something. That just shows you have some track record, a market, a viable product, that sort of thing. And then just the type of business you are. Are you a manufacturer, wholesaler, agriculture, that type of thing. Annual revenue, number of employees. Also, this is really important, is, you need to be up, and it doesn't matter, even if it's an economic development program, you need to be up to date on your taxes. And also, if you've been in business a couple of years, you need to have some income statements and balance sheets that you can share in the underwriting process. If you haven't kept good books and things, we would strongly recommend work with people like Dennis Boyd on this call to get those cleaned up, so that the underwriting process can go very quickly. If your books are not, if you have multiple corporate entities, if your books are not up to date and things, it makes it very difficult for us to try to process an actual loan application. And then we're just looking at the amount that you're seeking, the fact that you had to turn down from a commercial lender, and then what that loan will be used for, as we've said. And then what type of collateral would we be looking at? We do collateralize our loans. There are micro loans, like at the $10,000 level, other organizations are doing, that do not require collateral. If we look at your interest form and we see that you're not maybe eligible for a Cbed loan, what we would do is we will try to direct you to where it might be a more appropriate sort of place to go. Oops, my screen has frozen. All right, there we go. So here's our website for the Cbed program. And if you go there, there's lots of information. And then we have the online interest form, and you can talk to us. With the online interest form, it's taken us about a week or 2 weeks to get back to companies after they submit it. And kind of going into the holiday season, we'll try to keep up on things, but I know we're going to be sort of short-staffed. But we do try to get back to you fairly quickly on this and let you know whether, okay, we have some questions for you, and we maybe want to start the underwriting process and get to know you better, and go forward with actually trying to do a loan. And then we also would work with our co-lending partners to see if they have an interest in in a particular company as well, and helping go in on a 50-50 loan. Happy to answer any questions at this point.
We did get one question, Mark.
Sure.
So could that improvement of facilities for a farmer be land acquisition through purchase or lease to expand production?
That's a great question. If we had, what we would do with that is we probably would go to our co-lending partner, the State Department of Agriculture. We would normally not do a loan for the purchase of land, but the State Department of Agriculture loan program, they do. And we've actually gone in on a deal where their part of it went for land purchase, our part went for kind of equipment and working capital. So yes, there's opportunities there, and with the State Department of Agriculture and the Cbed program together doing that. And if there's no more questions, I would like to introduce our branch chief for business development in the Business Development Support Division, Jamie Lum, who is going to speak about our HiSTEP program, our export development program. So over to you, Jamie.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. Aloha, good morning. I'm Jamie Lum, as my colleague introduced me, with the Business Development Branch at DBED. And the program that I would like to talk about is our HiSTEP program, or our Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program. This program is made possible through a grant that we received from the SBA for a nationwide STEP program. So we do compete annually with other states and territories for funding for this program. And although we are the administrators of the grant, we do work with many different partners here. I have listed some of which are on this call. Thank you to HTDC Innovate Hawaii for organizing this. They are one of our partners, and Dennis Boyd and the other people at the SBDC are other partners, and a number of others that I have listed here. So we couldn't do this alone. We all work together to create sort of this environment for companies that are interested in exporting. So what is HiSTEP? It is an export development program, and it's tailored for, it's for companies that are very new to exporting, even just only thinking about it, all the way to companies that may already be exporting and looking to expand. And we do this through 3 integrated components. We have our Export Readiness program, which involves webinars and business advising services through our partner organizations. We have our Hawaii Pavilions, which are trade shows that we do with Hawaii companies. And then the final component is our company assistance, which is direct financial assistance to help companies to implement portions of their export marketing plan, export development plans. So I'll go into each of these individually, but first, let me talk about the eligibility. As I said, it's tailored, or it's designed for companies at a broad spectrum, new to export all the way to what we call market expansion companies, companies that have been exporting for at least 18 months is how SBA has defined it. So, but basically, you have to meet the federal definition of an eligible small business concern, meaning that you are a small business, you fit that definition. You've been in business for at least a year, and that your product or service has to be at least 51% of the value has to be US. In our case, well, we'd like to see that they are Hawaii made, but meeting the SBA standard has to be US. And also that you have enough resources to support your efforts for exporting. So this is all done through a self-certification form. You also have to certify that you're not barred from receiving federal funds. You must be registered with our state DCCA, and also with our tax department and have a GET license. So those are the main requirements to be eligible for the program. Starting with our export readiness, we do offer monthly webinars. We did have one earlier in November. Actually, we started with one focusing on exporting agricultural products, and we featured our partners over at the Department of Agriculture. In next week, we will be having what we call our Export University 101. We usually always start with this because it provides a good overview, especially for those companies that don't know anything about exporting. It's a good overview of what it takes to export. Normally, our webinars are about an hour long. I will tell you, Export University is about 3 hours long, because we have a series of speakers that covers a lot of topics. But these monthly webinars, which this will go all the way through September of next year, 2022, cover either export-specific topics or country-specific topics. So we have things like export financing, logistics, e-commerce. We have marketing to Japan. This year, we're going to have one for Australia and New Zealand. So those are the types of webinars and types of topics you can expect. We also have all of our previous webinars and seminars, and we're doing them in person because we did record them. They're all on our website. Our website is invest.hawaii.gov, and it's under the exporting tab. If you go under there, you'll find all of the information on HiSTEP, but on the right-hand side, you'll see that you can view all of our past webinars. So there, I think it goes back to 2017. So it's a good source, a good resource for companies. So I encourage companies to check that out. So that's one portion of the export readiness. Secondly, we offer business advising services, at least one consulting session with one of our business partners. And hopefully that will help you to identify what some of your issues might be. You can talk about what your plans are. If you have an export plan, they can help you maybe fine tune it. If you don't have one, they can help give you tools to put one together, along with, like I said, some of the webinars and the information that we've offered through our webinars. But really, that's what you want to have is a good export development plan. So I've already mentioned our monthly, these are monthly. You sign up on our website, and there's no cost. And so I encourage companies to look at our schedule. Here's the upcoming sessions that we have. Like I said, next week, Thursday, we'll have our Export University 101, and then we go from there. So if you go to our website, click on the export readiness, we'll have the links. I think probably the ones that are later in the schedule may not have the links up yet, but at least through, I think, January, February, you can sign up for these webinars. The next component is our Hawaii Pavilion. So what we've done, and we're also this year working with the Department of Agriculture, is we have selected certain trade shows where what we'll do is we will purchase exhibitor space, we'll purchase booths, and we will invite Hawaii companies to join us, and we will exhibit together under the Hawaii banner. You can see that middle photo there with the big Hawaii banner. But basically what we're trying to do is reduce the cost for companies to participate in these trade shows. It can be very costly for companies. So we subsidize the majority of the cost. We do charge a participation fee, but it's about, I would say, about only a quarter of the cost of what a company would spend to go into a trade show. We also feel that it's valuable to be together as a group under the Hawaii brand. That's very powerful. And companies have also found that it's there's an added advantage being with other small businesses. They're able to share information and work together. In some cases, sometimes they'll come out of these trade shows, with cooperative programs or something that they've put together. So at the last 20 months or so, we have seen that there have not been in-person trade shows. So many of them have been virtual, but we do expect that these will be in person. So we are very hopeful. We know that companies are anxious to get out there. We think that there is value. While virtual is good and it helps us to carry on, we think there is value of being face-to-face with potential buyers and distributors. And with those, with these, the Hawaii pavilions, we will recruit on individual basis, meaning by show. So we will be sending out notices, and companies will register separately for these. We'll have separate registration forms for those. This is what we have on our calendar for 2022, starting in February with the Gulf Food Show in Dubai that Department of Agriculture will be doing. And then after that, following that, we'll have the big Natural Products Expo West in Anaheim. And then from then on, we have several shows in Japan, food shows, the Bio International Show in San Diego, and the Hankyu Fair in July, and then the Tokyo Gift Show in September. So keep watch on our website. If there are any changes to the plans of any of these shows, we will let you know. And then finally, we have our company assistance program. This provides funds directly to companies to help support their export market development costs. And this is why it's important for you to have an export development plan, because this is important in this particular aspect of the program. So these funds are offered through a request for proposal process because we don't have grant making authority. So this year we've issued 2 RFPs, one for new to export companies and one for market expansion companies. The difference really between the two are the levels at which you can request funds. New to export companies can request a maximum of $5,000, and the market expansion can request up to $15,000. One additional qualification for the market expansion company RFP is that you must have annual revenue of at least $200,000. And the reason we have implemented that, and we've had that over the last several years, but that's why we decided to separate it between the 2 types of companies, because we realized that those companies that are newer, they may need some funds to help them to take them to their first trade show abroad, or maybe go to another somewhere to use the Gold Key service, which I'll mention a little later. But for market expansion companies, we would expect that you've been exporting for a while and that you have revenues that will help you. You have enough revenue with your company to help you to continue to grow and expand your exports. And that's why we just want to make sure that the company has enough resources to be able to continue growing their exports. The proposals, the RFPs are out now. They are available. So if you go to our website, it will take you to that page. It is a separate registration or separate application process from just registering for our HiSTEP program. So I'll talk about that towards the end. But as I mentioned, so the proposals are available now. They are due by 4 p.m. on Friday, January 14th. So that's the time frame, Friday, January 14th. Submission is all online. So we have step-by-step instructions on our website. I'll just briefly go over what funds can be used for from HiSTEP. They can be used for e-commerce and website expenses. So translating your website into the language of the market that you want to go into, making it such that you can take international payments, search engine optimization, those types of things, even cybersecurity. It can be used, HiSTEP funds can be used for that. It can also be used for international marketing media, including your digital marketing plans. Can be used for airfare, trade show booth rentals, and this would be, it doesn't have to be trade shows that we've selected for Hawaii pavilions. These can be other trade shows, and in fact, we like to see that companies are looking, aside from what we've already arranged or what we're already looking at putting together as far as Hawaii pavilions. We like to see that companies are looking at other types of shows that would be good for them. So it can be used for other trade shows, including their booth costs, including hiring an interpreter if needed for that particular show. It can be used for shipping the products to and from the show. It can be used for, I mentioned earlier, Gold Key service. For those of you that may not be familiar, that's a U.S. Department of Commerce program under the U.S. Commercial Service. The embassies and consulates around the world have U.S. Commercial Service offices where they help U.S. companies do business in that particular country. So if you're interested in a particular country and you're looking for potential partners, you can make contact with the U.S. Commercial Service, and they will vet companies for you. They'll arrange meetings, etc. So there is a fee for that. So funds can be used for the Gold Key service or other federal export development plans programs, including if you're familiar with the Ex-Im Bank, Export-Import Bank, that they have credit insurance and other types of export financing programs. So it can be, some companies don't want to take risk in exporting. So Ex-Im Bank has some products that can help companies reduce that risk. There are fees for that, and STEP funds can be used to help cover that. Funds can also be used for shipping sample products from potential buyers that maybe don't want to, order a full order. They just want some samples. They can be used for that. They can be used for compliance testing. If you have a product such as any type of food or any type of skin care or anything that's ingested or on the skin in certain countries, you need to have certification, and that means your product will have to be tested by labs. So funds can be used to help cover those types of fees. And then lastly, funds can also be used for export research tool subscriptions. So if you're looking for information on your particular industry, your particular product, and you need to pay money for reports, this is a way that you can pay for it. What are we looking for in terms of the success metrics for this program? We want to see expanded exports, meaning the volume of exports, and we also want to see expanded revenues from exports for our Hawaii produced goods and services. We want to see a larger overall number of companies that are active in the global marketplace. And lastly, we want to see higher penetration of markets around the world that are selling and using Hawaii produced goods and services. So if you've determined that you're eligible, you're interested, I encourage you to go to our website. There's a screenshot here, and over in that gray box on the right on the bottom, it says registration. You click on that, and it will take you to the registration form. There's no cost for that. There's no obligation to you if you fill that out. We want information about your company and kind of to see where you're at, what kind of product or service you have. This is also where you'll tell us there is a portion of it that has that you would fill out so that you can determine the value of your product, whether it meets the 51% Hawaii value. And once we receive that, as this graphic will show, when we receive your registration form, then that's what we go through that information, and then we will put you in touch with one of our partner organizations. We have here Hawaii Pacific Export Council, the SBDC, the Patsy Mink Center, Innovate Hawaii if you have manufacturing issues that you want addressed, or the Veterans Business Outreach Center if you're a veteran owned business. So we'll put you in touch with these organizations. You'll have your consultation, and then hopefully in working with these partners, then the next step would be for you to attend our sessions or sign up if you feel you're ready, sign up for one of the trade shows or apply for company assistance. So that's in a nutshell what HiSTEP is. And if you have any questions, you can contact myself or Mark or Lyle. All three of us are on this webinar, and we would be happy to help you and to answer any questions that you have. And if there are any questions now, I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks, Jamie. I don't think we have any questions right now.
Okay. Now I'll turn it over to Mark. I'm sorry, Mark.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. Just get my PowerPoint. So we'd like to talk about another program in our division, and that's the Enterprise Zone program. And this has been around for about 30 years now. And the primary purpose of this state program, it's a state-county partnership, is job creation and retention, and to also stimulate certain types of business activity or industry development in economically challenged parts of the state. Basically, companies join the program, and in exchange for the job creation, you get tax benefits. So as a company, why should you be interested in this? It could save you money on your taxes. And so you can get actually money back if you sort of meet hiring targets. This program is only for certain types of businesses though. Retail is not eligible for this business, but agriculture and agricultural processing is, manufacturing, and wholesaling. The bulk of the companies, we have about 200 companies in the program now, are in those three categories, sort of ag processing, manufacturing, and wholesaling. And then we have some other kind of miscellaneous technology-related sectors, ranging from biotechnology research to aviation or marine repair, some IT and telecom, medical research, and then some sort of training programs. And actually, wind energy was the one renewable industry that they put on this, and this was all done, through the state legislature. So let me just show you where the zones are. So you have to be in one of those industries, and then you have to be located in one of the enterprise zones. And for Hawai'i Island, there are 4 enterprise zones, and those are Kona, Hilo Kailua-Kona, Hamakua, and then North Kohala. I didn't put a real detailed map on here, but at the end, we'll give you the website where you can go to the Enterprise Zone program, and there's a link to GIS maps that are interactive and allows you to zoom in, and you can actually put an address down, and you can actually see if that's in an enterprise zone or not, all the way down to the street level. You just keep zooming in, and you can get right down to the street, and you can see where the zone might stop, and be on one side of the street, not on the other side of the street if you put an address in. Oops. Something happened. So what are the tax benefits if you join the program and you're able to meet the hiring requirements? Basically, why would you want to do this? So there's there's 4 tax benefits. The first one is 100% exemption from the general excise tax. And that is, you actually don't have to charge the GET, although when we work with companies, we say you should charge the GET, and then at the end of the year, when you do your reconciliation and things, if you meet the requirements of the program, then you can claim that back. In other words, you could get all your GET back. Also, one thing I forgot to say is DBEDT's role in this is to certify that you've met the requirements of the program. And every year for the 7 years in the program, you file a form with us each year. And then if you meet the requirements, we send you back a certification letter. And that says you are allowed to take the tax benefits. And there's a special tax form. It's called the Enterprise Zone Tax Form 756, I guess, N-756. And it actually says Enterprise Zone Tax Form at the top. And that's where you actually can take these benefits. So again, the first one is the GET exemption or getting your GET back. The second one, and this is a big one, is starting out in year 1 of the 7-year program, you get 80% of any state income tax you owe back. So if you owe $1,000, let's say, when you do your taxes, and you meet the requirements of the program, you're going to get $800 back or 80% back. And then that declines by 10% each year. You also get your unemployment insurance that you pay for your employees. You're going to get 80% of that back as well. And it declines by 10% each year until you get to year 7. Now, the tax credit is, they call it non-reimbursable. So you can't carry it forward. And if you don't owe the state any money, then you're not going to get any money back. So the time to join this program is, and we talk to companies about this, is if you already are owing state taxes, because otherwise this isn't going to help you if you're in the red. This is not a program to help a distressed company that's in the red. This is to help successful companies be rewarded for creating jobs in economically challenged areas of the state. Oops. Oh, something's gone. Oops, something's gone wrong here. I hit something wrong. All right, let me go back to do it this way. Here we go. If this is a state-county partnership, and the county also offers benefits, and in fact, they have to as part of the program. And so Hawaii County, they offer a 3-year exemption from any increase in property taxes resulting from new construction by easy firms at their easy sites. And that's an important one because I didn't mention the 4th benefit. The 4th benefit, again, the 4 benefits are the GET exemption, the tax credit, the unemployment insurance credit back, and the 4th one is if you're going to be doing any facility upgrades and using a Hawaii licensed contractor to expand your facility, build a new warehouse, that contractor does not have to charge you the GET. So if you're an enterprise zone company, you're going to build $1 million warehouse, you could save like $50,000 just on that. And we try to work with companies. Sometimes when they join the program, they want to do building. We actually have arrangements where they can get the enrollment letter and start their building and then actually join the program when they actually are in operation. So how do you get certified though? Remember, I kept saying each year you have to file with us and then to be certified to take the tax benefits from DOTAX, and it's on a tax form. Well, the annual certification is basically from the time you join, your starting number of employees, you have to raise that by 10% and then hold it through the 7 years. So it's not very onerous at all. If let's say you had 10 employees, you would have to raise it by 1. And so when you file with us, you give us some other information about your company, but also you're going to say, okay, we're at 11 employees. And then we look at your original enrollment letter, what the target was, it's 11, you get your certification letter. And usually you report to us right before you do your taxes. So you'll have that certification when you do your taxes. Because DOTAX sometimes will double check with us and things. And so you want to keep that certification letter in your tax folder. Now, somebody say, well, what if we have 5 employees? Do we just have to do a half employee? It's no, like from 1 to 10, we are rounding up to a full FTE. So if you have 5, you got to go to 6, you have 2, you have to go to 3, that sort of thing. And then if you're at 20, you'd have to go to 22. Now, this is considered, it's a little bit complicated, but this is for new businesses. In other words, when the enterprise zone was drawn and they last for 20 years, if you then opened your company after it was drawn, you're considered a new company. This is the formula. If you were already an existing company, let's say you were already like here since 1985 and the zone was drawn underneath you, then they make the requirements a little bit harder. The first 3 years are the same, but then you, in year 4, you have to go up 15% and so on through year 7. And you can sort of look at the numbers there. And I think the logic behind that, I guess, is the fact that you were already an existing company, you were doing fine without, you weren't incentivized to actually move there or open there or anything, you were already there. So they're going to make it a little bit more difficult for you to be able to take the tax incentives. Here's our, I went through that very quickly and happy to answer questions. Here's the website. I work on this program, and then with my colleagues, Wayne Tom, who's not on this call, but then Lyle Fuchikawa, who is on this Zoom call, is there for questions. Last thing, and I didn't get into a lot of details on this, but the enterprise zones themselves, they last for 20 years, and then they have to be redesignated. The zones are drawn based on census tract data, and that data really is looking at, is this an economically challenged census tract? And there's a formula for it. And so they're using census tract data. When they redesignate, they're always going back and looking at the most recent sort of 10-year data on that census tract. So sometimes when these, we've had this in the past 4 or 5 years, a lot of the zones have been redesignated. Some counties have lost certain census tracts because they become wealthier and not is in need of economic incentives for job creation in that particular part of the state. But you can sort of see, as I mentioned, it basically covers, you know, greater Hilo, Puna, and Kona, kind of your 2 major metropolitan sort of areas, and then even kind of agricultural areas, you know, up the Hamakua coast and then North Kohala. With that, are there any questions I can answer before we go on to our last presentation?
Hi, Mark. Yeah, it looks like you have a couple questions. So the first one is, for pass-through entities like LLCs, does the tax credit pass through and apply to the owner's personal tax return?
Yes, yes. And it gets a little complicated, but yes, that's exactly how it works. We have some companies that are set up that way, and it is done as a pass-through.
Great. And then, you know, someone is asking if they're kind of in between the zones, is there anything, you know, any opportunities for them?
It's always a great question. Unfortunately not, although you should sort of look, and we put out information on when the zones expire, when they'll have to be withdrawn. Also, they've been doing different census tract things here in 2020. But other than that, it's really according to the census tracts. And just as also as an FYI, it's the county that actually draws the zones based on the census tract data. They propose it to the state, DBED, and then DBED makes a recommendation to the governor to accept that. So your zones are really put there by your county planners and the people that look at census tracts and things for Hawaii County. But you can, again, you could go to our website and go back up here, and there's GIS maps there where you can actually zoom in right to street level. So you can actually see where the enterprise zone is. Unfortunately, we can't do anything to get around that. If for some reason you're across the street and it's not a zone.
So Mark, it looks like the farm is located in between zones, but for whatever reason, if they were to create a manufacturing facility within a zone, I don't know if that would make sense. The manufacturing facility could be eligible, right?
Right, it's the business itself and where the business activity is taking place. So you can't just get a PO box in an enterprise zone and then get tax benefits if all your people are reporting to somewhere that's outside of a zone. But likewise, if most of the actual business activity, operating activity is in a zone, and we would take a look at that and sort of work with you to make a determination on that.
So it could be possible the farm could be separate with, not in a zone, but then they set up a manufacturing facility and they actually produce the value-added product there. They wholesale it from there, right?
Yes,
that might be eligible, yeah.
Right. That would be, and then how they separate that up from a corporate entity, because ultimately this program, everything is going back to when you're doing your state tax returns as a business. So how you sort of set up, what LLC, that how you're reporting your revenue, because this is all sort of giving you money back from your operating business if you fall into the right categories. One other thing, Lyle, thank you for bringing that up, but that's somewhat related. If we have a lot of farmers now who may be located in an enterprise zone, but let's say they're just selling retail, they're just selling at farmers markets. Right. That is not eligible. Retail is specifically not eligible. So even though we could let you join the program as an agricultural company, but then when you go to do your taxes, they separate out any of the retail. It's just the wholesale that they're counting. So if you have 51% or more wholesale, that would be a time to kind of join the program because then you can actually get some benefit of it. We don't want people joining the program that we don't think they're actually going to benefit from it.
Right.
Okay, I think we're getting close to our cutoff time, but I want to hand it over now to my colleague, Lyle Fuchikawa, an economic development specialist in the business support branch, business development and support division, to talk about a Made in Hawaii program. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Lyle.
Great, thank you very much, Mark. So I'm going to share my screen and just go through this very quickly. I am here to speak about the Made in Hawaii program. And if you are familiar, we created the Buy Hawaii Give Aloha portal site for e-commerce for companies during the pandemic. Since then, the legislation by the state legislature has created the Made in Hawaii program, which is really trying to strengthen the brand, support manufacturers, wholesalers, create something that we can really sell, export to not only within Hawaii, but without, right, to the US continent, to overseas markets. And so this fits in very well with the programs that we talked about today. You can see the information. The portal site is at off our website, invest.hawaii.gov/made-in-Hawaii. And it actually lists marketplaces. We have separate sections for food companies, which includes also restaurants and food delivery, like farms that are delivering products. We also have a section for PPE. So Innovate Hawaii receives a grant. They in turn sent out to manufacturers to create a supply chain for locally manufactured PPE. The whole point is to really support and find ways to promote, again, manufacturing in Hawaii. And so we are listing the retailers to help them sell. We're undergoing a holiday campaign right now, and we are also looking to see other ways to promote, such as through HiSTEP, our export promotion program. So we request you to sign up. You can apply online. We'll be sharing the links later. You can apply directly, and as long as you are producing your products and the wholesale value would be 51% or more, we would be very happy to list you. And you're going to have maybe one product. So we request that you have the majority of your products. So we say 75% of your whole online store, if you could list those products online. We are also undergoing a survey of manufacturers, and we definitely look at Miles, Tom, and Dennis for your help with this, to ask manufacturers, would you be eligible for the program? And if you could fill out that information, we're not getting proprietary information. It's actually going by percentages. a new thing that we're putting into the valuation equation is intellectual property. And of course, that is a big part of what we hear are, manufacturers here in Hawaii because it's so difficult. But the inspiration, the design, cultural values, brand values being made in Hawaii, we are trying to measure that and see how we can support manufacturers better, because so much has to be imported, right, from without of Hawaii to even create any kind of products that you're making. And so again, we're really trying to find ways to support you manufacturers and through these other programs. And we'll be working through the next coming legislative session, but also working on promotional campaigns. So if you sign up, you can be highlighted. You can be part of our social media campaigns. And definitely, again, neighbor islands, you folks are very important. So we need to support you there. We do have, companies in Hilo, companies in Kona, Waimea. Of course, all the coffee companies are very popular, but we want to help you. So if you can give us your input through the survey. If you have any questions, by all means, contact me to talk about the program. And we'd love to hear your feedback and ways that we can support you better. So thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them right now.
Great, thank you, Lyle. I don't think any questions have come in.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar. I will be sending the recording and the slides to everyone who registered. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or need assistance. All right, thank you everyone. Any last words from our presenters today before we close up?
Just thank you very much, Nicole, Dennis, and all our partners on Hawai'i Island, and hope to be out there in person in the new year. We'll keep our fingers crossed. We don't get to do the kind of outreach that we used to, but hopefully this Zoom call will tide us over until the new year. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Mahalo. Bye.
Mahalo, everyone.